Good morning. Thank you all for coming.
Hi.
So last time we got together, we discussed and identified some of those issues that we have that are hindering our students' success. So I know we ultimately decided to focus on our students' struggle to complete their missing assignments. So Layla, what did the data of their grades kind of show us?
We have class averages that are below a 70, which is due to astronomical numbers of missing assignments. And our students are so behind right now that they are just completely overwhelmed, and they don't have a ton of time outside of class to attend tutorials to get caught up. So that is a huge factor as to why these students are failing.
Yeah, so true. So what do we ultimately decide to do?
Well, we talked about having those structured tutorials on Tuesdays and Thursdays where we could pull the kids in if they have missing assignments or they're failing classes in order to have some peer tutoring in like a group setting. So focused tutorials was kind of our goal.
Yeah, gotcha.
And peer tutoring is research-based, great best practices. That's been going on for years, and we know that works.
Yeah. And so since that's why we chose it, but I know we also have the issue of the HB 45, right?
Right.
Those times that we're not able to do those tutorials on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during our advisory time anymore because, they have now limited that for those lessons. So I did talk to Ms. Compton about some clarification on what we can do and cannot do. They said as long as, if you do it in the same room together, as long as another teacher is there, another teacher has to be present in dealing with those who are not associated with HB 45. So that's why we're so glad we have you, Mr. Gibson. Yes, we're so appreciative. But did you say you want to reach out to some others as well?
Well, I think we could use some, the special ed department isn't assigned an actual advisory class, so they can maybe do some sort of rotation where they're the teacher of record to help kind of, not facilitate, but I guess really just supervise the peers that are helping to do the tutorials. And so with the lecture hall being Tuesday, Thursday, they can maybe do a rotation, so it's not you every single, week.
Although I'm happy to serve.
So reach out and contact them and see if they'd be willing to do that as well.
Okay, so definitely, we'll reach out to them. And then, so for those kids who are going to be doing those tutorials, did you have an idea for the National Honor Society?
Yes, so we're going to use both our AVID program, since we have a great AVID program here, and then our National Honor Society students can also earn their hours, and any other senior or junior level high success or succeeding performing students, they can get Green Court hours. So we're thinking about asking them and getting approval so they can run those tutorials.
That helps them. That's a good incentive and motivation for them to help, and they'll help themselves as well. So
yeah, I know it's kind of tough because I remember we were talking about it last week. We weren't even sure if they would be allowed to, because I know initially it's like after school, right? They only earn hours before and after school, but I'm glad we were able to get that clarification on them being allowed to do it. So I know we said we want to do the lecture hall sometimes, and I know we needed that approval to get the lecture hall.
And I have great news on that. We have approval for the lecture hall starting next week on Tuesday and Thursday, so we are ready to go.
Okay, that's awesome. So Tuesdays and Thursdays. I know that next week is the report card finalization on that Friday. So when do we want to go ahead and push this forward? When do we want to start?
Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday. All right, cool. So we're gonna start on Tuesday and Thursday. We can have Mr. Gibson do that those first Tuesday and Thursday until we get clarification. Who specifically do we need to start reaching out to? The other ones, you said Ms. Kaczynski, who else?
And Coach Kaiser.
And Coach Kaiser. Okay. So
and also Coach Perkle to see if we can get the roll sheets set up in efficiency.
Yeah, the efficiency roll sheets. So when we do that, do we want to have them see if each teacher can have their own roster for efficiency, or do you want to do it to Mr. Gibson?
I don't mind setting up. I don't mind just being the person that's in there, and if the others can come in to help, that's fine.
Okay.
So I'll contact Coach Perkle, and then are we kind of dividing up and seeing?
Yeah.
I'll contact Coach Perkle and get a class set up for Mr. Gibson, and I agree, it might be better if it's one person.
I was originally set up in ed efficiency because I had a advisory class 2 years ago.
Okay. So that'll be easy. That'll be an easy transition. All right, well that's awesome. So I know we're rolling this out with just the English 1 students for right now, but I did get approval from Ms. Jackson that she says if this goes well and it works out for us, that we can also kind of train other staff members. So this can be like a school-wide thing as well, right? Because I know that probably math and science, they're also having the same issue with their kids having so many missing assignments, especially those 9th graders who are struggling to figure out how to take care of their own business and turn their stuff in on time, right? So hopefully we can get this all going. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Yeah, okay, well thank you all so much. We'll see you on Tuesday. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Do you feel comfortable asking the team for help?
Yeah, of course. I think that Coach Morrow and you and Mr. Gibson are all really supportive of student success, and all of us, of course, want our students to succeed. So bouncing ideas off of each other, especially when we're frustrated. I know I was extremely frustrated with the lack of students turning in work. And so asking you guys for help, I feel like we always feed really well off of each other. So I love asking other professionals for help.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think even for myself too, I was a little nervous at first coming to you guys with the whole like, okay, I kind of want to start this initiative. Let's see if we can figure out what we can work on. But I realized that once I asked y'all, like, what are some things that we feel like we can work on? Y'all were like, oh yes, well we can work on this. We need to work on this. You know, we were easily able to identify and work together to actually, you know, plan and implement something. So I felt like it was super great, and I think it was awesome how passionate you were about this issue with the kids and their failures. I felt like you were really passionate about it, and so that kind of helped drive us to, you know, keep moving forward and keep pushing and, you know, work out the kinks.
Well, you do a really good job of taking our problems or taking our ideas and putting them together. So your structure and how you organized it was awesome, because we do have a lot of ideas, but sometimes it's hard to put them in place, or we get stuck with who should we go to. So you did a really great job of breaking it down and kind of organizing that whole process for us.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel like it was a really good time to kind of practice that, you know, figuring out a structure, you know, and sometimes it can be easy to figure out, okay, these are the problems, but how are we gonna push forward and move through it? But I feel like as a team, we all really worked really well, you know, kind of dividing and conquering. Once you kind of figured out what we wanted to do, it wasn't very hard to figure out how we're gonna do it, I feel like.
I agree.
Yeah. So, what growth do you feel you have made professionally throughout this process?
I think for me, I always hated the words tutorials, especially when students would come in and they would ask for tutorials. I almost felt at a loss because of my coaching obligations and then the House Bill 4545. I felt like I couldn't give the time and attention that I needed to, and it frustrated me as a professional. So having a place where they could go and being able to structure that with you guys helps me realize that I can do more if I actually take a step back and I let some other people that are qualified help me with that. So that was really nice. It helped me as a professional realize I don't have to do everything myself, because before I think I was trying to do too much. So now it's nicer getting to step back. So maybe in the future I can also realize before I say I'll do it, maybe I can help myself by leaning on the strengths of the group.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. No, I actually fully agree with you. And you know, that first thing, thinking about the tutorials, especially when we were kind of saying we want to do the peer tutorials, I know when I talk with like someone else, they were like, well, what's going to happen if like they're not working, or they go and they use it as a free period? And you know, and then that doubt kind of went in my mind before we had actually started. I'm like, oh man, that could be an issue. Like, what if, you know, the kids are not taking it seriously and whatnot? But I really think that we worked out the kinks, you know, by talking with the kids before we even sent them the tutorials. Like, these are some of the things you need to be working on. This is what your grade is looking like. You know, then they were able to actually really work when they came in, you know. And even though we had a few people who didn't show up like they should have, but the ones who came, I was so excited to see those emails, and it kind of brought me up, you know, it gave me hope, like, okay, they're taking this time seriously, they're using it beneficially, you know, so definitely for sure. And then also, I do agree with you, depending on others, instead of taking everything and feeling like you have to do it all on your own, that was one thing that I was worried about as well, because I knew, even coming into this, I knew I wanted to do something with you and not just tell y'all what to do, or not just say, okay, this is what we want to do, well, I'm going to do everything. So definitely realize that it's good to depend on, you know, the fellow group members, and depend on, you know, each other to put things in place to really, you know, make it work. So yeah, I think moving forward too, I'm gonna have to think about that as well, making sure whenever we do group things and group initiatives, just really take an opportunity to depend on each other. So yeah, that's good though. Okay, so do you feel like you have made growth as a team member yourself?
I believe so. I think that being able to take ownership of my pieces that I was in charge of was nice, because I like reporting in and saying, okay, I got this. Did you do your part? And you're like, yes, I've got the lecture hall. That's really cool to have that pride that I did my piece. And it also goes back to, I didn't have to do all of it, so having my little piece done, it was like a check mark, and I love checking things off my to-do list. So that was really cool for me.
Yeah. And I think it's so great how much of an organizer you were. Like when we were talking in our planning, you're like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And you're like, right, okay, I'm putting this in the notes. I'm gonna write this down, you know? So I think that you know, with the tracking that you kind of did whenever we were discussing about the things that we need to do, that was a huge part of the process. Because I know a lot of times, like in past initiatives that we've seen in our own school, like with the freshman initiative, like last year, we would start and talk about putting these in place, but then it just kind of fell out. And then nothing would happen moving forward, you know? But like you said, identifying those tasks and then checking them off and checking in with each other and keeping each other accountable. I think that really helped us, you know, kind of know exactly what we needed to do to keep moving forward.
Well, and something that you did that was really great and kind of lit the fire under the group is you did your piece really quickly and you communicated it to everybody so they knew, oh, she means it, like we're doing this. So you kind of held everybody accountable by how quickly you got your piece done too. So
Gotcha.
I really appreciate that.
Oh, gotcha. Well, it was great. I mean, I've appreciated the whole process, you know, because I feel like we were just very passionate about the whole thing and we did not reap the benefits. So, do you feel like you had any struggles that you had to work through the process though?
The biggest struggle for me was getting kids to come to the tutorials. I think it's not just kids not wanting to come, but the communication. So sending emails to kids is not enough. Sending emails to parents is not enough. So I think next time I'm going to be better about talking to the kids one-on-one the day of if I can, or maybe even using PASLs and send those through the office. And that way they get it right before that time. I also would like to use Google Voice and text parents because I also have way better turnout with that. Yeah.
That Google Voice text and that, yeah, that's brilliant. You should definitely add that for next time. So we can try to implement that before our next tutorial because yeah, I noticed that too. I had kids who I spoke to directly and I told them and some of them still didn't even show up. And to be honest, I understand kids forget things and I told them the day before. And what kind of sucks about it is that advisory is earlier on in the day, so maybe I can remind my first period and my second period, but fourth and on, they may forget and then move on with their day and think it's just a regular advisory time. So yeah, I think that's good. Doing with the Google Voice, maybe sending out those messages and those reminders, that's a good idea for sure. I feel like the struggle I had to work through was, you know, once we found out that the National Honor Society students wouldn't come help us, I feel like that was one struggle, not getting down and feeling like, oh, this is not gonna work, we're gonna have to figure something else out, you know, not letting it bring me down. But I think as through working with the team and talking with you guys, we're like, you know what, that doesn't work, let's move on, we'll figure out another way. We'll reach out to these avid students, you know, and not think that it's over because one part is not gonna work out, you know? So I think really kind of working with each other and talking through, working out the kinks whenever something was not gonna work out as we had hoped initially, that was really helpful.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it sounds like from our discussions with our NHS people in the math department and even the honors teachers and other levels of English that they really admire what we're doing. And they want to try it too because it seems to be effective just in our one time, that they want to send their kids down for that peer tutoring. And math is starting before and after school tutorials, student led. So I think that we're kind of setting the bar and we're being really creative and finding new ways. So hopefully we continue on this positive trend and kids are looking forward to getting caught up on their work and are writing these tutorials.
And like we said earlier today, now that we know and we have this in place, we can even catch those kids before they get to like the end of the quarter and they're struggling so bad or they're so behind and they're so overwhelmed. We can kind of get those kids earlier on. So yeah, I think it really is inspiring others. You know, when other teachers hear about like, wait, what are y'all doing over there? What's going on with this tutoring? You know, I know math is doing theirs, but I don't think any of the other English grade levels are doing anything like this. And I know, especially like for sophomore with, you know, like Miss Davis, I think she's also doing HB 45. And I think she's struggling trying to figure out how to work out the kinks with her tutorials too. So I'm definitely hoping this positive trend stays and that we can, you know, bring it to others and introduce it to others as well. So yeah. So looking back, is there anything you would change in regards to our planning and implementation process?
Well, you said it. I mean, I wish we had started this at the beginning. I used to take a clipboard and I'd go up to students and I would check off like, hey, you're missing this. And the face-to-face conversation would help so much. But now with this PAC curriculum, we almost don't have time to do that. Or the kids have to be reading and it's so distracting for me to walk around and do that. So I wish we had started this earlier. I'm excited that we're doing it earlier in the future. I also wish that we had thought to include other subjects or other levels in this, because I didn't know we were gonna have such a low turnout, because English 2 was asking, oh, can we send our kids? And I felt like I had to tell them no, because I wasn't
prepared for that.
Yeah, and we didn't know how many people were gonna be there or not. So now I feel like we could potentially include them in it. So I wish we had maybe included them or done a rotation with them.
Yeah.